So a survey among American consumers just recently came out and it told us, well, which phones they like the most and especially which brand they like the most. And one thing was not a surprise, and then another part of it was actually quite the surprise. I looked into it and I gotta be honest, I'm a little bit lost by this. Now, the top couple of phones are only separated by a couple of points. Now, it's a percentage of like how satisfied people are. And while this is definitely just in America, it's an interesting look because one brand dominates here and they didn't necessarily win the top phone. So it's super interesting. And I want to dive a little bit into that with you today. I think it's interesting when we talk about brand loyalty on this channel and I talk about how unimportant it is, but satisfaction is important. If a company is giving you satisfaction, then giving them your money is not a bad thing. I don't know how loyal you should be to that. I've talked about that before. Of course, if you haven't seen those videos, I recommend you watch them. Maybe I'll put them in the link below. But let's talk about what phone is America's favorite. And listen, I want to celebrate something. GadgetCast, the podcast I do with Greg from Greg's Gadgets, is going so well. We have been blowing up. We reached 19th on the podcast ratings on Apple Podcasts. We're super excited about that. And tons of people come to our YouTube channel to live stream. It's been so much fun. So I'm going to let him do my intro. I know I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm sure Greg will do a great job. Greg, hit the intro.
We're gonna talk about it right after this. This is you listening to Greg.
Let's not do that again. What up, players? Welcome back. And for all you new people, welcome. My name's Travis and I do tech videos every single week and have a blast doing. If that sounds like fun to you, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Anything I talk about will be in the description below. But for now, let's just get into the video. So a recent survey came out and some interesting things have come to light. Which brand is America's favorite, at least the one they're most satisfied with, and which phones are their most favorite. And if you know anything about the American market, you will know that Apple dominates phone sales in America. I mean, they also had the best-selling phone in the entire world with the iPhone XR over the last year and a half. So that shouldn't come as a surprise. And of course, Apple is an American company, so again, that should not come as a surprise. But if you read some of the comments in some of these videos, you would think that Samsung is like the best-selling phone. It's not in America, it really isn't. Although they do have a really good selling phone in the A series. Their S series has kind of struggled over the last couple of years, no matter what you read in the comments. And that's not to say there's not been good phones. As a matter of fact, some of the top phones in this list are from Samsung, which really should be no surprise because here in America, there's only a couple of real brands that battle for dominance. Number one, the obvious, Apple, like I said before, the American company. And of course, Samsung. Pretty much if you walk around, you will find someone either with an Apple phone or a Samsung. And then every so often, you'll find some kind of tertiary phone, like maybe a OnePlus. I mean, that's pretty rare. If you randomly look at someone's phone, it's either gonna be Samsung, Apple, or something cheap. You won't find a whole bunch of LGs. They are out there, and you won't find anything like an Oppo or anything like that here in America. It's just not one of the brands that people pay attention to. But America's darling, once again, is Apple. Apple wins with an 82% satisfaction score over Samsung's 81. And of course, while they are super close, it is kind of statistically significant when you think about how many people that they actually talk to. But the number one phone that people were most satisfied with was the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. Can't say I'm terribly surprised though. The Galaxy Note series of phones have always been the best that Samsung has to offer each year. And that really isn't any different here. Of course, the S10 series had come out shortly after the Note series. But again, if you have a Note and you have the S Pen and you have all the cool features with it, sometimes the S series of phones is not for you. And that's definitely the case for me. I try to stick with only the Note series of phones when I have a Samsung phone. Having said that, I've recently reviewed the Galaxy Note 9 and the Galaxy S10 Plus, two of the phones that are on this list. Actually, the Galaxy S10 technically is the one that's on this list. But I've recently reviewed those from the Amazon Renewed program, as well as the iPhone XS, which was one of the highest ranking phones in this marketplace research. You can watch those videos. I'll leave a link in the description below and in the end screen, because in 2020, these phones are still fantastic. And in the case of the Galaxy Note 9, it's a really good deal. I highly recommend you watch that video because as I broke it down, that is one of the crazy values right now. The Note 10 is still pretty expensive. The Note 9 is a pretty good deal. And while updates may be a problem from this point forward, as you can see, the satisfaction rate is super high and people love that phone. And it was a really great phone when I had it. I held it for the entire time from launch all the way up until I switched out to the OnePlus 7 Pro. Just an amazing phone. And interestingly, Samsung kind of dominated the phones in the most satisfaction, as only one of the phones in the top 4 was an iPhone, the iPhone XS Max. I actually did a review of the iPhone XS in 2020. Again, link in the description and the end screen. Make sure you check those out. So how did Apple win by 1 point when Samsung pretty much dominated the fact that their phones are absolutely loved and really admired here in America? Well, in America, one thing that we all know is that Apple's customer service is excellent, and you can go to a store. There are not a lot of Samsung stores in America. As a matter of fact, I've never seen one. Not to say there aren't any, but there just aren't a lot. However, there's a ton of Apple stores. So brand affinity is absolutely high, even if a person likes their phone slightly less than maybe a Samsung fan will. And who knows? I mean, to be perfectly honest, these are just percentage of people saying that they like their phones. Whether it's actually technical in any kind of way, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the affinity for the brand is high. Here in America, Apple is king. And I talked about this before. You look no further than the high percentage of high school students that absolutely love their iPhone, know that that's going to be their next phone. And again, like I said before, Samsung better watch out. And while most of these students are absolutely in love with their iPhones and have no interest in going to a Samsung phone, it's not too late. Samsung can come up with a new phone that maybe pulls them over. Maybe it's the Fold or something just interesting or different. But really, it's that ecosystem that's keeping them there. And if Samsung's not careful, they could lose more market share here in America. You see, these kids are not interested in going to a Samsung phone right now. And if they continue that path, if it continues that way, and they buy all the phones moving forward as time goes on, that's just more market share for them and less for Samsung. But what do you think? Do you agree with these numbers? Is your favorite phone a Samsung phone? Leave me a comment below. Let me know what your favorite phone is of this past year. Was it the one you bought? Was it the one you had before? I'd love to see you down below and we can talk about it. See you again next time. Peace and love.